The widow's revenge, a dish best served icy cold. The church was completely silent until she entered, dressed in black, her eyes eerily calm, carrying a silver bucket of ice-cold water. No one understood what was happening, not until she reached the open casket and poured the water directly onto her dead husband's face. Chapter 1 and the Discovery. Chicago, Illinois. The Williams home stood on a quiet street in an upscale neighborhood, a stunning contemporary design that Maren had created herself on a crisp autumn morning years ago. Maren was in her home office, sorting through the mail that had piled up during her week-long business trip to Chicago. "Bills, bills, more bills," she muttered, separating the envelopes into neat stacks. Then she paused, holding an official-looking envelope from their bank. She tore it open, expecting a routine statement, but what she saw made her blood run cold. Their joint savings account, where they had been depositing money for their dream house in Colorado, showed a balance of almost zero. That couldn't be right. There should be over $2.3 million in that account. Maren quickly logged into her online banking. Her hands trembled slightly as she typed. The statement wasn't wrong. Transaction after transaction showed withdrawals, some small, some large, over the last 18 months. All made by Derek. What the hell? She checked their other accounts. Their checking account was also nearly empty. Only her personal account, which Derek couldn't access, remained intact. Maren leaned back in her chair, trying to make sense of it. Where had $2 or $3 million gone? She tried calling him again. Straight to voicemail. "Derek, it's me. I just found the bank statement. Call me immediately." Maren paced the room, her mind racing. Something was terribly wrong. She opened her laptop and began digging through their digital records. Tax returns, investment accounts, credit card statements, searching for any clue. It took hours, but slowly, a pattern emerged. Credit card statements showed charges at casinos in neighboring states. Cash withdrawals near those same casinos. Hotel rooms she knew nothing about. Restaurants where they had never eaten together. Derek had a gambling problem, a serious one. The front door opened and closed. "Maren? You home, honey?" Derek's voice called out from the entryway, sounding casual and upbeat, as if nothing were wrong. Maren took a deep breath, closed her laptop, and went to face her husband. Derek Williams was in the kitchen, setting down a bag of groceries. At 38, he still had the athletic build of the college baseball player he once was. His dark hair was beginning to gray at the temples, which Maren had always thought made him look distinguished. His smile, the one that had first charmed her at a friend's barbecue 9 years ago, spread across his face when he saw her. "There's my award-winning architect. How was Chicago? I missed you." He moved to hug her, but Maren stepped back. "Where's our money, Derek?" His smile faltered slightly. "What do you mean?" "The $2.3 million in our savings account. It's gone." Derek's expression shifted through several emotions. "There must be some mistake," he said, turning to unpack the groceries. "I'll call the bank tomorrow. I already checked online. The money is gone, Derek. Withdrawals, all made by you." He turned his back to her, arranging vegetables in the refrigerator with unusual care. "It's temporary, Maren. I had to make some investments." "Investments?" Maren laughed bitterly. "Is that what they call blackjack tables now?" Derek froze. Then he slowly closed the refrigerator and turned to face her. The charming smile was gone. "You've been going through my things. I've been going through our financial records after discovering our life savings have vanished," Maren corrected, her voice rising. "How long have you been gambling, Derek?" Derek ran a hand through his hair, a nervous gesture she had seen countless times. "It's not what you think. I had some losses, yes, but I'm about to turn it around. I have a system now, and there's a big game next weekend that—" "Stop!" Maren held up her hand. "Just stop. Do you hear yourself? This isn't about a system or a big game. This is about addiction. Do you need help? Need. I don't need help, Derek snapped. What I need is for my wife to support me instead of attacking me the moment I walk through the door. Support you? Marin's voice rose. You stole our life savings, money we worked for together, money for our future. I didn't steal anything, Derek said defensively. My name is on that account too. Marin stared at him, suddenly seeing a stranger where her husband had been. Who are you? Because the Derek I married would never do this. Something cold flashed in Derek's eyes. Maybe you never really knew me. Those words hung suspended in the air between them. A terrible truth neither had acknowledged until now. I think you should stay somewhere else tonight, Marin said quietly. I need space to think. This is my house too, Derek protested. Yes, a house I designed, paid the down payment for, and have been paying the mortgage on for the last year apparently, Marin said. Please, Derek, just go. Fine, but you're overreacting. We'll fix this. After he left, Marin sat alone in her beautiful, empty house, feeling as if her entire life had been built on quicksand. 8 years of marriage, and she had no idea her husband was capable of this level of deception. Chapter 2: The Accident. The next morning, Marin woke after a restless night to find several missed calls from a number she didn't recognize. When she returned the call, a woman answered. Pacific Northwest Insurance, this is Stephanie speaking. Marin frowned. Someone called me from this number. Oh, yes, Mrs. Williams. We've been trying to reach you regarding the life insurance policy. What life insurance policy? There was a pause. The policy your husband took out last month. There was a question about the beneficiary information. He listed you, of course, but there was an issue with the secondary beneficiary designation. Marin's mind spun. I didn't know my husband had taken out a new policy. Oh. Stephanie sounded uncomfortable. It's a fairly substantial policy, $5 million. Mr. Williams said it was due to his new job position involving more travel. Standard procedure, right? $5 million. A new policy last month, right when his finances had deteriorated beyond concealment. I see, Marin said carefully. And who was listed as the secondary beneficiary? That's the issue. He listed his mother, Linda Williams, but there was a problem with her social security number. We just need the correct information. Marin barely remembered the rest of the conversation. After hanging up, she sat motionless, connecting the dots. Derek had squandered their savings. He had taken out a massive life insurance policy. What was he planning? She tried calling him again. Still no answer. Marin spent the day in a daze, trying to make sense of it all. By evening, she had made a decision. Tomorrow, she would confront Derek. She would insist on addiction counseling, and they would need to meet with financial advisors to fix the mess he had created. If he refused, she would have to consider divorce. As she prepared for bed, her phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Williams? A deep male voice asked. This is Officer Daniels with the Coast Guard. I'm afraid there has been an accident. Marin gripped the phone. Your husband's boat was found drifting empty about 3 miles offshore. There was no sign of Mr. Williams. We have initiated search and rescue procedures, but with the water temperature and darkness falling, I need to prepare you. The chances of survival are very slim. Marin listened, her mind strangely clear despite the shock. When did this happen? A passing vessel reported the empty boat around 5:30 p.m. We've been searching for about 4 hours. As Officer Daniels continued explaining the search efforts, Marin went to her home office and opened her laptop. The browser was still open to her bank accounts from yesterday. She refreshed the page. A new transaction appeared with a timestamp of 4:45 p.m. today. Transfer to offshore account. Cayman 2022. The remaining balance of her savings account. Her account now showed exactly 0. Marin interrupted Officer Daniels mid-sentence. When did you say the boat was found? Around 5:30 p.m., ma'am. But your husband could have fallen overboard sometime before that, or exactly 45 minutes before, immediately after emptying her bank account. I understand, Marin said. Please keep me informed about the search. She hung up and stood in perfect stillness for several minutes. Then she opened a new browser window and typed, "How to fake your own death by drowning." The results were revealing. No body found. Remote location. Drifting boat. Asset transfer beforehand. Derek wasn't dead. He was running. A new text message popped up on her phone from another unknown number. "I'm so sorry about Derek. I'm here if you need anything. Stephanie, Pacific Northwest Insurance." Maren stared at the message. A final piece clicked into place. Stephanie from the insurance company. The same company where Derek supposedly had business. The overly personal message from a supposed customer service representative. Derek wasn't just running. He was running with someone. And they planned to take the $5 million insurance payout with them. In that moment, shock gave way to realization. Something shifted in Maren Williams. The grief that should have overwhelmed her was replaced by a cold, clear focus. She didn't know how yet. But Derek Williams was about to learn he had made a terrible mistake. Interaction question. Maren just realized the entire plot. If you were her, would you go to the police immediately? Or would you try to catch him yourself? Let me know in the comments. Chapter 3. The Widow's Gambit. The boat, the vessel Derek had supposedly fallen from, was a 28-foot cabin cruiser they had bought 3 years ago. Maren had always been nervous on the water, so it had essentially become Derek's toy, something he took out with friends or business partners. Now, she realized it had been the perfect setup. Derek knew she rarely accompanied him on boat trips. He knew she couldn't navigate the vessel confidently herself. Maren walked through her house with fresh eyes, looking for any additional clues Derek might have left. In his home office, she found credit card statements he had hidden from her, showing purchases of men's clothing she had never seen him wear. A receipt for a prepaid burner phone, and the most incriminating item of all, hidden behind the spare tire in the garage, a waterproof bag containing a passport in Derek's name, but with a slightly altered date of birth. He had been planning this for months. Maren was still processing this revelation when Officer Daniels called back around midnight. "Mrs. Williams, I'm afraid we've had to suspend the active search for tonight. Water conditions have deteriorated, and we haven't found any sign of your husband. We will resume at dawn, but I must prepare you for the possibility that this is becoming a recovery operation rather than a rescue." "I understand," Maren said. "Thank you for everything you are doing. A victim's advocate will contact you in the morning. Is there anyone who can stay with you tonight? Family or a friend?" "Yes," Maren lied. "My sister is on her way." After hanging up, Maren made a decision. If Derek wanted to play dead, she would let him think he had succeeded. For now, she went to her computer and did something that would have been unthinkable just 24 hours prior. She didn't delete Derek's browser history, which showed searches for faking drowning deaths and non-extradition countries. Instead, she took screenshots and saved them in a hidden, encrypted folder. Then she went to bed. She slept soundly for the first time in weeks. The next morning, Maren began her performance as the devastated widow. She called her office, her voice cracking appropriately as she explained Derek's accident. She accepted the Coast Guard's offer of a victim's advocate, a kind woman named Rita, who arrived with resources on grief counseling and the process of declaring someone legally dead. "It is very rare for bodies to be recovered after open water accidents like this," Rita explained gently. "After 48 hours, the search will likely move to recovery mode, but even then, the odds of finding remains are slim." Maren nodded, dabbing her eyes with a tissue. "What happens legally? I mean, without a body? My husband can't be officially declared dead for some time. The waiting period varies by state, but it is generally 7 years." Maren looked appropriately shocked. 7 years? What am I supposed to do for 7 years? "There are provisions," Rita said. "You can petition the court for a declaration of death in absentia after a reasonable search period, especially given the circumstances of his disappearance." Maren nodded, filing this information away. "And his life insurance?" Rita looked sympathetic. That can be tricky without a death certificate. Insurance companies often require substantial proof of death or wait for the legal declaration. However, in clear cases like boating accidents where extensive searches have been conducted, they sometimes make exceptions. Of course they do, Maren thought. That's exactly what Derek and Stephanie were counting on. Maren's phone buzzed with another text from Stephanie. The Coast Guard called our office about Derek. I am devastated for you. Please let me know when you are ready to discuss the policy. Take all the time you need. She showed the message to Rita. That is his insurance agent? Rita asked, frowning slightly. Apparently, Maren said. I've never met her. Derek handled all the insurance matters. It's a bit familiar for a professional relationship, Rita observed. But everyone grieves differently. Maybe she knew him well through work. After Rita left, promising to check in the next day, Maren received the call she had been expecting from the Coast Guard. The search was called off. No sign of Derek Williams. The conditions had been perfect for a thorough search, and the area had been completely covered. The official conclusion: Derek Williams had fallen overboard and drowned. His body had likely been swept out to sea by strong currents. Maren thanked them for their efforts, her voice appropriately hollow. Then she made 3 phone calls. Chapter 4, The Surveillance. Maren stood at the edge of the memorial garden, watching people file into the elegant pavilion, where the celebration of Derek's life was being held. No casket, of course. No body had been found. Just an oversized portrait of Derek in his best suit, smiling that winning smile, surrounded by white roses and navy blue ribbons, his favorite color. It had been 2 weeks since Derek's accident. 2 weeks in which Maren had played the role of the grieving widow while secretly building her case. The security system was in place, tiny cameras hidden throughout the house. Tess Morgan, the private investigator Maren hired, was making progress tracking the money, and Maren's divorce lawyer had helped her secure her remaining assets against future looting. Linda Williams, Derek's mother, approached Maren with a solemn expression. She had flown in from Arizona 3 days ago, staying in Maren's guest room and accepting condolences with regal grace. You look lovely, dear, Linda said, adjusting the collar of Maren's black dress. Derek would be proud of how you are handling this. Thank you for helping with the arrangements, Linda. I couldn't have done this without you. The older woman patted Maren's hand. He was my only son. The private investigator had uncovered interesting information about Linda Williams. Specifically, that she had recently put her modest Arizona home on the market and had been researching properties in Belize, a country with no extradition treaty with the United States. We should go in, Linda said, guiding Maren toward the pavilion. People will expect us to greet them. The memorial service was everything Derek would have wanted. Sincere, but not overly emotional, with just the right balance of solemnity and celebration. Derek's boss spoke of his dedication and charm. College buddies shared stories of his athletic prowess and leadership. Neighbors praised his community involvement. Maren listened to these tributes to a man who apparently never existed, at least not in the way they described him. When it was Maren's turn to speak, she approached the podium. The crowd went silent, ready for the widow's tearful tribute. Derek and I would have celebrated our 9th anniversary next month, she began, her voice trembling slightly. We had so many plans, so many dreams for our future together. Maren paused, scanning the crowd. And there, at the back of the pavilion, partially hidden behind a pillar, she saw a figure in a dark jacket and sunglasses, head bowed. The build, the posture. Even with the attempted disguise, she would recognize her husband anywhere. Maren didn't miss a beat. Derek lived life to the fullest. He always said, "You can't take it with you when you go." I think about that a lot now. My husband was full of surprises right until the end, Maren continued, making direct eye contact with the observer in sunglasses. She finished her eulogy with a quote about the unpredictability of life and returned to her seat next to Linda. Beautiful words, dear, Linda whispered. Maren noticed that during her speech, Linda had been typing on her phone beneath her prayer book. After the service, guests gathered for a reception in the garden. Maren accepted condolences with appropriate grief, while keeping a close eye on the figure in sunglasses, who was now moving carefully along the perimeter of the gathering. At one point, she excused herself and walked in that direction, only to see the figure quickly retreat around a corner. Stephanie arrived at the reception fashionably late, dressed in a somber black dress that didn't quite hide her model-like figure. In her early 30s, she was nearly a decade younger than Maren, with long blonde hair. "Maren," she said, embracing her. "What a beautiful service. Derek would have been so moved." Maren returned the hug, noting how Stephanie's eyes darted nervously around the garden. "Thank you for coming, Stephanie, and for all your support these last 2 weeks. Of course, anything you need, day or night. We are processing the claim as fast as possible." "That is so thoughtful," Maren said. "Actually, I was hoping we could meet tomorrow to go over the policy details." "Of course. Why don't I come to your house? It would be easier for you." "Perfect," Maren agreed. "Around noon? I'll be there." Stephanie's phone buzzed. "Excuse me, I need to take this." As Stephanie walked away to answer her call, Maren noticed how she angled her body, speaking in low, urgent tones. A moment later, Maren's own phone buzzed with a text from Tess Morgan, the P, male in sunglasses, left in black Audi. Got partial plate. Following him now. Maren slid her phone back into her purse. Things were going exactly as she expected. Chapter 5, The Trap is Set. Later that night, after the last of the guests had left, and Linda had retired to the guest room claiming emotional exhaustion, Maren sat alone in her home office, reviewing the day's events. She opened her laptop to check the feed from the hidden cameras. Nothing unusual yet. Her phone buzzed with another text from Tess. "Lost him in traffic, but confirmed ID from distance. 99% sure it was your husband. Sending photos tomorrow." Maren wasn't surprised. She had felt Derek's eyes on her throughout the memorial service. What kind of narcissist attended his own funeral? A soft knock on her office door startled her. Linda stood there in a silk robe, looking concerned. "Still working, dear. You should rest." Maren closed her laptop. "Just tying up loose ends. Derek handled so much of our finances. I'm still trying to make sense of it all." Linda stepped into the room, perching on the edge of a chair. "Is there anything I can help with?" "That's sweet, but I think I have a handle on it," Maren said. Then, deciding to test a theory, she added, "Actually, there is one odd thing. Derek apparently transferred a large sum to an offshore account right before his accident. I can't figure out how to access it." Linda's expression remained neutral, but Maren noticed her hands tighten slightly on the chair arms. How strange. Perhaps it was a business investment he hadn't told you about yet. Men can be mysterious with financial matters. Richard was the same way, always moving money for tax purposes or investment opportunities. I learned not to question it. "I suppose," Maren said. "Anyway, I should probably get some rest too. Stephanie is coming tomorrow to discuss Derek's life insurance policy." "The insurance agent. That is thoughtful of her to come to you." "She's been very supportive," Maren said. "The policy is quite substantial. $5 million. $5 million, Linda repeated. A hint of something. Calculation? Greed? Entered her voice. "Well, Derek always thought of the future." After Linda returned to the guest room, Maren checked her security cameras one more time. The exterior camera caught Linda standing by the guest room window, phone pressed to her ear, talking intensely. Unfortunately, the system didn't record audio from that distance. Maren went to bed, her mind racing with possibilities. If her suspicions were correct, Linda wasn't just a grieving mother. She was part of Derek's plan. That meant Maren now had 3 opponents: Derek, Stephanie, and Linda. Luckily, none of them knew Maren was playing too, and she had no intention of losing. Chapter 6, The insurance visit. The next morning, Maren prepared for Stephanie's visit. She chose an outfit that made her look slightly frail, an oversized sweater that emphasized her recent weight loss, minimal makeup to highlight the dark circles under her eyes. The grieving widow struggling to cope. Linda announced over breakfast that she needed to run errands and would be gone for several hours. "Don't wait for me for lunch, dear. Take your time. I'm sure you and Stephanie have much to discuss." After Linda left, Maren activated the recording function on all the hidden cameras and prepared a tray with coffee and the homemade cookies Derek had always loved. The perfect grieving widow, maintaining her husband's favorites even in his absence. Stephanie arrived precisely at noon, dressed in a professional yet chic pantsuit, carrying a leather portfolio embossed with the Pacific Northwest Insurance logo. "Maren, how are you holding up?" she asked. "Day by day," Maren replied. "Some moments are harder than others." "Of course." Stephanie nodded. "The first few weeks are always the hardest, but you are doing remarkably well. Having support helps. Derek's mother is staying with me, and friends have been very kind. And how is Linda? Such a lovely woman. Derek spoke of her often. She's coping as best she can. Losing her only son, I can't imagine." Stephanie nodded sympathetically, then opened her portfolio. "I know this is difficult, but we should discuss the policy. Given the circumstances of Derek's passing, there will be a few extra steps beyond a normal claim." "I assumed so," Maren said. "No body, no death certificate yet." "Exactly. However, Pacific Northwest Insurance has protocols for these situations. The Coast Guard report, the exhaustive search, the presumption of death, all of this plays in your favor." Maren frowned slightly. "In my favor?" Stephanie backpedaled quickly. "Poor choice of words. I simply meant the evidence supports the claim, which will make the process smoother." "I see," Maren said. "And how long does this process usually take?" "In cases like this, generally 3 to 6 months. We'll need the official Coast Guard reports, witness statements from anyone who saw Derek leave on the boat that day, proof that a proper search was conducted, and eventually a court order declaring presumption of death. 6 months seems like a long time to wait when I'm struggling financially," Maren said. "With our savings invested, I can't access funds for the mortgage." Stephanie reached out to pat Maren's hand. "Don't worry. In hardship cases, we can sometimes provide a policy advance to help with immediate expenses." "How generous. That would be a huge help," Maren said gratefully. "Derek handled all our finances. I'm still trying to figure out everything he left behind." Stephanie's phone buzzed. "I'm so sorry. Excuse me. Where were we?" "The policy advance," Maren reminded her. As Stephanie outlined the requirements, Maren noticed she checked her phone repeatedly, clearly distracted by the text she had received. Finally, she excused herself to use the restroom. The moment Stephanie was out of sight, Maren opened the app on her phone that connected to the hidden cameras. The feed from the bathroom showed Stephanie not using the facilities, but making a call, speaking in low, urgent tones. Thanks to the high-quality microphones, the words came through clearly. "She doesn't suspect a thing. Just follow the plan." "Yes, I told her about the advance. No, Linda isn't here. I can't talk long. I'm supposed to be in the bathroom. Just be patient. 6 months isn't a long time to wait for $5 million. Maren quickly closed the app as she heard the bathroom door open. Stephanie returned, her professional composure restored. "Now, about that advance," she continued. "I'll need you to sign these preliminary claim forms. Just standard procedure acknowledging that Derek is presumed deceased and that you are the primary beneficiary." Maren accepted the forms, scanning them carefully. "It says here that if Derek is found alive within 7 years, I would have to repay the full amount plus penalties." Stephanie nodded. "Standard language for presumption of death cases. But given the circumstances, the chances of that are virtually zero." "Virtually zero," Maren repeated, signing the forms. "That's somewhat comforting, I suppose." After Stephanie left, Maren went straight to her office and downloaded the recording from the bathroom. She saved it alongside her growing file of evidence. Then she called Tess Morgan. "I need you to tail Stephanie from Pacific Northwest Insurance," she instructed. Chapter 7, The Alliance. 3 weeks after Derek's disappearance, Maren received an unexpected visitor. She was in her home office reviewing the latest report from Tess Morgan, who had tracked Stephanie to a remote cabin in the mountains. Linda had finally returned to Arizona 2 days prior, claiming she needed to attend to the sale of her house, promising to return soon for emotional support. Maren was relieved to have the house to herself again. Playing the grieving widow was exhausting. Maren opened the front door to find a tall woman with short silver hair and shrewd eyes standing on her porch. She wore a severe pantsuit and carried a slim briefcase. "Mrs. Williams, I am Agent Collins from the Special Investigations Unit of Pacific Northwest Insurance. I was hoping we could speak about your husband's policy." Maren felt a jolt of alarm mixed with anticipation. This wasn't part of the script Stephanie had outlined. "Of course," she said, stepping aside to let Agent Collins in. "I wasn't expecting anyone from the insurance company today. These visits are usually unannounced," Collins said, her tone professional, but not unkind. "Standard procedure for high-value claims with unusual circumstances." Maren led her into the living room, the same space where she had met with Stephanie. Collins remained standing, inspecting the room, while Maren quickly texted Tess Morgan. "Insurance investigator here, Special Investigations Unit, not part of their plan." Collins sat down and opened her briefcase. "Mrs. Williams, I want to be transparent with you. Whenever we have such a large policy taken out shortly before a presumed death, especially one without a body, we conduct a thorough inquiry." "I understand," Maren said. "Is there a problem with the claim?" "Not necessarily a problem, but there are certain red flags that require closer examination. Your husband doubled his life insurance just 3 months ago." "I wasn't aware of that," Maren said truthfully. "And you weren't aware of the policy increase at all?" "No." Maren shook her head. "I only found out about the policy after Derek's accident, when Stephanie contacted me." Collins made a note. "And your husband's financial situation at the time of his disappearance?" Maren hesitated, deciding how much to reveal. This investigator could be an obstacle or an ally. "To be honest, I recently discovered that our savings had been significantly depleted," she admitted. Collins' eyebrows raised slightly. "Do you know what the money was used for?" "I believe he had a gambling problem," Maren said. "I found evidence of casino visits, cash withdrawals near those locations." "I see." Collins took more notes. "And did you report these financial issues to the Coast Guard during their investigation?" "No," Maren admitted. "I was in shock, and to be honest, I didn't connect the two events immediately. It was only after I had time to process everything that I started to wonder. Wonder if your husband's disappearance might not have been an accident." Maren looked at her hands. "It's a terrible thing to think about your own husband." "Not at all," Collins assured her. Maren decided to take a calculated risk. "Agent Collins, can I speak frankly?" "Please do." "I have started to suspect that Derek might have staged his disappearance," Maren said, her voice shaking slightly. "The timing, the missing money, a new insurance policy I knew nothing about. Have you shared these suspicions with anyone else? The Coast Guard? The police?" "No." Maren shook her head. "I have no proof. And to be honest, I was afraid." "Afraid of what, Mrs. Williams?" "Afraid that if I voiced these suspicions and was wrong, I would be dishonoring Derek's memory. And if I was right, afraid of what it would mean for my future, for his family. His mother has been staying with me. She is devastated by his death." Collins nodded. "These are very difficult circumstances. I appreciate your candor." Maren took another risk. "There is something else, something I haven't told anyone. The day Derek disappeared, there was a transfer from our joint account, the last of our savings. 17th was. It happened less than an hour before his boat was found drifting empty." Collins' expression sharpened. "Do you have documentation of this transfer?" "Yes." Marin stood up, retrieved her laptop, and showed Collins the online banking records, pointing to the timestamp of the final transfer shortly before Derek's disappearance. "This is very helpful information, Mrs. Williams," Collins said. "May I ask why you didn't share this with Ms. Hughes?" Marin bit her lip. "To be honest, I wasn't sure who I could trust." Collins made another note. "Your instincts are good, Mrs. Williams. In my experience, trust should be earned, not given freely." Marin felt a surge of hope. Agent Collins might be the ally she needed. "What happens now?" she asked. "Now, I continue my investigation," Collins said, closing her notebook. "I will look into your husband's financial records, his recent activities, his relationships, standard procedure." "Relationships?" Marin repeated. "Yes," Collins nodded. "Was your marriage stable, Mrs. Williams?" "I didn't have suspicions until after he disappeared," she said carefully. "But now, looking back, there were signs I missed. Late nights at work, business trips I wasn't invited to join, new clothes I never saw him wear." "Classic patterns," Collins agreed. "You might be surprised to know that Ms. Hughes requested to be assigned specifically to your husband's policy when it was initiated 3 months ago." Marin's surprise was genuine. "She requested it specifically?" "Yes," Collins confirmed. "Unusual, but not forbidden. Agents often prefer working with clients they feel comfortable with, or clients they plan to defraud," Marin thought. "I would like to help your investigation in any way I can," Marin offered. Collins nodded, handing Marin a business card. "I appreciate that, Mrs. Williams. My direct line is on the card. If you think of anything else, however small, call me immediately." As Agent Collins was leaving, she paused at the door. "One more thing. Ms. Hughes mentioned you have requested a financial hardship advance on the policy." "Yes," Marin confirmed. "With our savings depleted, I'm worried about covering expenses." "I understand," Collins said. "That request will be on hold pending my investigation. I hope that won't cause you too much difficulty." "I'll manage," Marin assured her. Chapter 8. The plot thickens. After Collins left, Marin immediately called Tess Morgan and briefed her on the visit. "This is actually good news," Tess said. "If the insurance company is investigating, they will have resources and authority we don't have." "Agreed," Marin said. "What's the update on Stephanie at the cabin?" "She visits it every Tuesday and Saturday night. Stays over. The man never leaves the property. But my telephoto lens caught clear shots of him on the deck. It's definitely your husband. Can you get closer? Maybe plant some listening devices? Risky, but possible. The property is pretty isolated. What's your endgame here, Marin?" Marin considered the question. "I want justice. Derek stole our savings, betrayed our marriage, and planned to vanish with $5 million that would have come out of the insurance company's pocket. He isn't going to win this game." "Well, he's obviously getting nervous," Tess reported. "After watching your visitor today, I assume the woman in the pantsuit was the investigator, right? I followed her back to her office. 2 hours later, your husband and Stephanie had a heated argument on the cabin deck. Lots of gesturing, clearly fighting. Then they went inside and packed. They left about an hour ago." Marin felt a chill. "They left? Where did they go?" "I followed them to a motel about 40 miles from here. They checked in under the names David and Sarah Miller. Paid cash. They're changing the plan," Marin realized. "What do you think they'll do now?" Tess asked. "He's going to come back from the dead," Marin said with sudden certainty. "He'll realize the insurance investigation might uncover his scheme, so he'll create a new story. One where he's the victim, not the villain." "How do you know?" "Because that's Derek," Marin explained. "He can't stand being the bad guy, even when he's clearly in the wrong. He'll come up with a story that makes him sympathetic. Something that explains his disappearance without incriminating him." "Like what?" Tess asked. "Amnesia," Marin said. "He'll claim he fell overboard, was rescued by someone, maybe a fisherman, and couldn't remember who he was. He's been struggling to regain his memory all this time, and now he's finally remembered enough to come home." "That's actually plausible," Tess admitted. "And it would explain the missing money without admitting to fraud." Exactly, Maren said. So what's our move? Maren smiled grimly. We prepare for a miracle. My husband is about to return from the dead, and I need to be ready to welcome him home, exactly how he expects me to. Chapter 9. The Miracle Return. 4 days after Agent Collins' visit, Maren's prediction came true. It was just past 9 p.m. She was in the kitchen making tea when the doorbell rang. Via the security camera feed on her phone, she saw him. Derek had returned from the dead. Maren took a deep breath, slid her phone into her pocket, and went to answer the door. The man standing before her was a carefully constructed version of her husband. Gaunt, exhausted, with haunted eyes, and dirty clothes that somehow managed to look artistically distressed. Maren, it's me. I'm home. Derek, she whispered. Is it really you? How? How is this possible? He stumbled forward, catching her in his arms. The devoted husband, returning to his beloved wife. I fell overboard, he explained, voice raspy. The current was so strong, I thought I was going to die, but some fishermen found me. They pulled me onto their boat. I couldn't remember anything. Who I was, where I came from. They took me to a small clinic on the coast. Maren guided him to the sofa. You've been alive this whole time? With amnesia? Derek nodded. The doctors called it dissociative amnesia caused by trauma. I've been living in a shelter, trying to piece my identity back together. Then, yesterday, something clicked. I remembered your name, our address. I've been hitchhiking back. Why didn't the clinic contact the police? Maren asked. Your disappearance was all over the local news. It was a small place, very remote. The fishermen who found me were undocumented. They were afraid to go to authorities, and without ID, without knowing my name. Oh, Derek, Maren exhaled. I can't believe you're actually here. I thought I lost you forever. I found my way back to you. That's all that matters now. You must be exhausted, she said. Hungry. We should go to the hospital. Just tired, Derek said. So tired. Maybe a shower and some sleep? We can go to the hospital tomorrow. Of course, Maren agreed, helping him stand. Let me take care of you. In the bedroom, Derek looked around as if reacquainting himself with a forgotten space. It's all coming back to me now, he said softly. Pieces of my life, our life together. Take your time, Maren reassured him. Your memory will come back fully soon. Derek smiled gratefully. You were always the strong one. While Derek showered, Maren quickly texted Agent Collins. Derek has returned, claiming amnesia. Then she texted Tess. He's here. Plan is moving forward. Monitor Stephanie's movements. When Derek emerged from the bathroom, he looked more like himself. Shaven, hair still wet, wearing pajamas Maren had laid out for him. For a moment, she almost forgot what he had done, who he really was. Then she remembered the empty bank accounts, the secret girlfriend, the elaborate plan to fake his death for insurance money. Better? She asked, patting the bed beside her. Much, he sighed, sliding under the covers. I still can't believe I'm home. Me neither, Maren said, keeping her distance but maintaining her loving facade. I have so many questions, but they can wait until morning. You need rest. Just hold me, Derek asked, reaching for her. I've missed you so much. Maren steeled herself and moved into his embrace, fighting the revulsion she felt at his touch. Maren waited until Derek was deeply asleep. Then she carefully slipped out of bed, went to her home office, and reviewed the security footage of his arrival, studying his performance with a critical eye. Then she checked the feed from the bathroom camera from when he was showering. Derek had examined the bathroom carefully, checking behind the mirror, under the sink, even feeling along the shower curtain rod, looking for surveillance devices. He hadn't found the tiny pinhole camera Maren had hidden in the decorative vent. More importantly, while showering, he had made a call on a waterproof burner phone he kept in a hidden pocket of his dirty clothes. The audio was faint under the shower noise, but Marin could make out snippets of the conversation. "I'm in. She bought it completely. Tears and everything. No, don't come here yet. Give it a few days. Claim the advance first. Yes, I'll make the amnesia official tomorrow. Doctor's note. Police report. Insurance will have to pay. Just stick to the plan." Marin saved the footage. Then she returned to bed, lying as far away from Derek as possible. Chapter 10. The medical emergency. Morning arrived with pale autumn sunlight filtering through the bedroom curtains. Marin had barely slept, her mind racing with plans and contingencies. Beside her, Derek slept soundly. Marin slipped out of bed and went downstairs to prepare breakfast, activating all the hidden cameras as she went. Today would be crucial for gathering evidence. When Derek finally came down, he moved with the careful gait of someone still recovering from trauma. "Good morning," she said, placing a mug of coffee in front of him. "How did you sleep?" "Better than I have in weeks," Derek said, accepting the coffee gratefully. Marin had prepared his coffee exactly how he liked it, with one significant addition. The sleeping pills she had crushed into the drink were mild enough not to be immediately noticeable, but strong enough to create the symptoms she needed. "I called Dr. Patterson," Marin said. "He is astounded by your return and wants to see you immediately. I also called the police. They need to update their missing persons report." Derek frowned slightly. "Can't that wait a day or two? I'm still adjusting." "Derek, you've been presumed dead for almost a month," Marin said with gentle firmness. "The Coast Guard conducted a massive search. There is a police report. We need to officially confirm you are alive." Derek sipped his coffee. "You're right. Of course, it's just overwhelming." "I understand," Marin said. "But the sooner we do the official part, the sooner we can focus on your recovery." As they ate breakfast, Marin asked careful questions about his experience, noting every inconsistency. The coffee was already taking effect. Derek was becoming slightly drowsy. "You mentioned fishermen rescued you," Marin prompted. "Do you remember anything about them? Names and what their boat looked like?" Derek shook his head. "It's all so fuzzy. I think the boat was blue, and one of the men might have been named Miguel or Manuel." "And the clinic, where was it located exactly?" "Somewhere north of here, near the Canadian border, I think. Small place. Just a doctor and a nurse." Derek rubbed his temples. Marin nodded sympathetically. "Don't push yourself. Your memory will return in time." As they prepared to leave for the doctor's appointment, Derek suddenly stumbled, gripping the counter for support. "Derek!" Marin rushed to his side. "What's wrong?" "Feel weird," he mumbled, his words slightly slurred. "Dizzy. Maybe stood up too fast. Here, sit down." Marin guided him to a chair. "Let me get you some water." Derek's condition deteriorated rapidly. His eyes couldn't focus, and his movements became increasingly uncoordinated. Marin watched with calculated concern, waiting for the perfect moment. When Derek slumped forward, nearly falling out of the chair, Marin made her move. She called 911. "Please, I need an ambulance," she said, her voice shaking with convincing fear. "It's my husband. He returned home last night after being missing for weeks. He claims he had amnesia, but now he's collapsed. He's barely conscious. Please hurry." While waiting for the ambulance, Marin knelt beside Derek, who was drifting in and out of consciousness. "Stay with me, Derek," she urged him, stroking his face for the benefit of the security cameras. "Help is on the way." Derek mumbled something incoherent, his eyes struggling to focus on her face. When the paramedics arrived, Marin gave them a carefully curated version of events. Derek had disappeared in a boating accident weeks ago. He had just returned last night claiming amnesia and had suddenly collapsed this morning. "He hasn't been evaluated by any medical professionals yet," she explained as they loaded Derek onto a stretcher. "He refused to go to the hospital last night, saying he just needed rest." "We'll take good care of him, ma'am," a paramedic assured her. "Which hospital do you prefer?" "Mercy General," Marin said without hesitation. She had chosen the hospital carefully. It was where her friend Sarah worked as a psychiatrist, specializing in trauma and memory disorders. Maren followed the ambulance in her car, making 2 important calls on the way. First to Sarah, giving her a brief but essential overview of the situation. Then to Agent Collins. "Derek has been taken to Mercy General," she reported. "He collapsed this morning, possibly a reaction to the trauma he's experienced, according to the paramedics. I thought you should know." "I appreciate the update," Collins said. "I'll meet you there." Chapter 11, the second act. At the hospital, Maren played the concerned wife to perfection. She paced the waiting room, asked appropriate questions about Derek's condition, and provided his medical history to the attending physician. Dr. Sarah Hughes, no relation to Stephanie Hughes, ironically, came to speak with Maren privately. "Based on what you've told me about his alleged amnesia, disappearance, and now this collapse, we are keeping him for observation and psychological evaluation," Sarah explained, for the benefit of anyone listening. "We need to rule out neurological issues, possible head injury, or psychological trauma." "How long will that take?" Maren asked. "At least 72 hours, Sarah said. "Possibly longer." Maren nodded. "Whatever he needs. I just want him to be okay." What no one else at the hospital knew was that Sarah wasn't just Maren's friend. She was her ally in exposing Derek's fraud. As a psychiatrist specializing in trauma, she had the authority to order a psychological hold if she believed a patient might be a danger to themselves or others. And based on Maren's evidence of Derek's elaborate deception, Sarah had ample grounds to believe he posed a significant risk. When Agent Collins arrived, Maren met her in a quiet corner of the waiting room. "The doctors are holding him for at least 72 hours of observation and evaluation," Maren explained. "They are concerned about his mental state and the inconsistencies in his story." Collins nodded. "This gives us time to investigate his amnesia claim. I'll need access to his doctors, with your permission as his wife." "Of course," Maren agreed. "Anything that helps uncover the truth." "What exactly happened before he collapsed?" Collins asked. "We were having breakfast, getting ready to see our family doctor," Maren explained. "He seemed fine, maybe a little tired. Then suddenly, he got dizzy. His speech slurred, and he almost fell out of his chair." "Had he taken any medication? Eaten or drunk anything unusual?" "Just coffee and toast," Maren said. Collins made a note. "I'll need to interview him once the doctors clear him to speak with me. In the meantime, I've assigned an agent to watch the hospital." "Do you think someone might try to contact him here?" Maren asked, feigning surprise. "In fraud cases involving multiple parties, it's common for co-conspirators to reach out," Collins explained. Maren nodded thoughtfully. "Like Stephanie Hughes? Or," she hesitated, "possibly his mother?" Collins' expression sharpened. "Do you have reason to believe Linda Williams might be involved? She's been acting strangely since Derek disappeared, and she left suddenly to go back to Arizona right before Derek appeared," Maren said. "I'll investigate that connection," Collins promised. CTA mid-story. Derek is trapped in the hospital, but he still thinks he's in control. What do you think his next move will be? Let me know in the comments. Chapter 12, The Treasure Hunt. The house felt different without Derek, cleaner somehow, as if his presence had been a contamination that was now temporarily removed. Maren moved through the rooms with purpose, methodically searching for any evidence Derek might have hidden before his accident, or brought back with him upon his miraculous return. She started in his home office, examining every drawer, every book, every possible hiding spot. Derek had always been methodical, preferring hard copies to digital records for his most sensitive information. Behind the false bottom of his desk drawer, a hiding spot Maren had discovered years ago while looking for a stapler, she found a small leather notebook. Inside were handwritten notes detailing what appeared to be a timeline for his disappearance, locations, dates, amounts of money to transfer. Most incriminating was a list labeled "Story Elements for Return," with bullet points outlining exactly the amnesia story Derek had told her, down to the fictional fisherman named Miguel. Marin photographed every page before returning the notebook to its hiding spot. In their bedroom, she discovered more evidence. Inside the lining of Derek's favorite leather jacket, the one he hadn't been wearing when he returned, was a small key. It didn't match any lock in their house, but Marin had a strong suspicion about what it might open. A text from Tess Morgan confirmed her theory. Found a rental agreement for a storage unit in Stephanie's trash. Unit 342 at Secure Space Storage on Riverside Drive. Paid in cash 3 months ago. The timing matched perfectly with when Derek had doubled his life insurance policy. Marin texted back immediately. "I might have the key. Meet me there." While waiting for Tess's reply, Marin continued her search. In the guest room, where Linda had stayed, she found a crumpled piece of paper wedged between the bed and the wall, apparently missed during Linda's hasty departure. It was a brochure for beachfront properties in Belize, with one listing circled in red pen and the note "Perfect for us" written in the margin. Marin was photographing this evidence when her phone rang. Agent Collins. "Mrs. Williams, we've made a significant discovery," Collins said. "Your husband's fingerprints match those found in a cabin rented under the name David Miller. The cabin was paid for in cash for 3 months, starting 2 weeks before your husband's disappearance." "David Miller," Marin repeated, feigning surprise. "Does that name mean anything to you?" "No," Marin lied, knowing full well it was the alias Tess had reported Derek using at the motel. "Where is this cabin?" "About 70 miles north, in a remote wooded area," Collins explained. "We obtained a search warrant based on the suspicious timing of the rental. Inside, we found men's clothing, provisions, and a laptop containing research on living off the grid." "So he was hiding there after his accident?" Marin asked. "It appears so," Collins confirmed. "And he wasn't alone. We also found women's clothing, along with 2 distinct sets of fingerprints, your husband's and someone else's, whom we are still trying to identify." "Stephanie Hughes," Marin suggested quietly. "We are investigating that possibility," Collins said. "I've requested Ms. Hughes' fingerprints from our HR department under the guise of updating security clearances." "What does this mean for Derek?" "It means his amnesia story is almost certainly fabricated," Collins said. "No one with amnesia rents a cabin under a fake name. We are building a case for insurance fraud." "I understand," Marin said. "Will you arrest him at the hospital?" "Not yet. We want to see who contacts him, who might be working with him." After hanging up, Marin received another text from Tess. "The key works. You won't believe what's inside." Sending photos now. The images that popped up on Marin's phone were staggering. The storage unit contained suitcases packed with clothes, boxes of household goods, a laptop, and most importantly, a file box containing what looked like multiple sets of identification documents, passports, driver's licenses, credit cards, all with Derek's photo, but different names. "There's more," Tess texted. "Found expensive-looking jewelry, not your style based on what I've seen you wear. Assuming it belongs to the other woman, from Stephanie," Marin thought. She recognized a distinctive sapphire pendant Stephanie had worn to Derek's memorial service, apparently her favorite piece. "Also found a burner phone," Tess continued. "Managed to access it. Texts between D and S discussing the plan. Explicit mentions of insurance money, new identities, plus a third person referred to as L. Linda. Derek's mother wasn't just aware of the plan, she was an active participant. "Put everything back exactly as you found it," Marin instructed. With each new piece of evidence, the case against Derek, Stephanie, and Linda grew stronger. But Marin wasn't satisfied with simply exposing their fraud. She wanted Derek to face the consequences of his betrayal in the most public, humiliating way possible. She began to formulate the next phase of her plan, one that would require perfect timing and a dramatic flair that matched Derek's own. Chapter 13, The Escape Artist. Meanwhile, at the hospital, Derek was not having a good day. According to Sarah, he had woken from sedation, angry and confused, demanding to be discharged. When told he was being held for psychological evaluation, he had become belligerent, insisting there was nothing wrong with him. He claimed his collapse must have been due to exhaustion from his ordeal, Sarah reported by phone. When I pressed him for details about his amnesia experience, he became defensive and vague. Did he try to contact anyone? Marin asked. He asked for his phone, which we haven't provided, and requested we call his mother to let her know he is alive. We told him you were handling family notifications. Perfect, Marin said. Keep him there as long as legally possible. The 72-hour hold is just the beginning, Sarah assured her. Based on his inconsistent statements and apparent delusional thinking, insisting on an amnesia story that evidence contradicts, I can recommend an extended evaluation period, if necessary. 2 days after Derek's hospitalization, Marin received an unexpected visit at home. Stephanie Hughes appeared at her door, looking appropriately concerned in a modest black dress, still playing the role of the supportive insurance agent. Marin, I just heard Derek has been found alive. It's a miracle. How is he? Marin invited her in, secretly activating the recording function on all hidden cameras. He's in the hospital. He collapsed shortly after returning home. The doctors are keeping him for observation and psychological evaluation. How terrible, Stephanie said. After everything he's been through, now this. Do they know what caused his collapse? They're still running tests, Marin said vaguely. They're concerned about his mental state. His amnesia story seems inconsistent. A flash of alarm crossed Stephanie's face before she controlled it. Inconsistent? In what way? Oh, little details. The doctors say that's normal with trauma-induced memory loss. The brain fills in gaps with confabulations, false memories that feel real to the patient. Stephanie relaxed slightly. That makes sense. Yes, Marin agreed. It's almost unbelievable. One day I'm a widow. The next day my husband returns from the dead. About that. Obviously the insurance claim will need to be withdrawn now that Derek has been found alive. Of course, Marin nodded. I brought the forms. Stephanie pulled several documents from her bag. And I should mention that the hardship advance you requested was still processing. So thankfully there's nothing to repay. I understand. I'm just grateful to have Derek back. Is Derek expected to return home soon? Stephanie asked casually. The doctors aren't sure, Marin said. They're worried about his heart now too. Which hospital is he at? Should I send flowers from the company? Marin smiled faintly. Mercy General, but no visitors are allowed yet. Of course. Stephanie nodded. Well, please give him my best wishes when you see him. After Stephanie left, Marin reviewed the security footage. As she suspected, Stephanie had used a moment when Marin went to the kitchen for water to quickly search through papers on the coffee table and take photos of several documents with her phone. Marin called Agent Collins immediately. Stephanie Hughes just left my house. She was taking photos of documents. Interesting, Collins said. We just received confirmation that her fingerprints match those found in the cabin with your husband, and we've been monitoring her phone. She made a call immediately after leaving your house to a burner phone we haven't been able to trace yet. Linda Williams, Marin suggested. I'm convinced she's involved too. We are investigating that connection, Collins confirmed. In the meantime, your husband has made a remarkable recovery at the hospital. Too remarkable, according to Dr. Hughes. His symptoms have vanished completely, and he is now demanding to be released. What happens when he gets released? Marin asked. We don't have enough evidence to arrest him for insurance fraud yet, Collins admitted. We can prove he lived in that cabin during his alleged amnesia period, but not that he deliberately faked his disappearance to claim insurance money. What if he tries to disappear again? We have him under surveillance, him and Ms. Hughes. Marin considered this. And if I could get him to confess, to admit the whole plan, that would surely strengthen our case. It would, Collins said carefully. "But I cannot advise you to put yourself at risk, Mrs. Williams." "I understand," Marin said, "but I think I know exactly how to make him reveal the truth." After hanging up, Marin received a text from Sarah. "Derek is now claiming chest pains. Says it might be heart trauma related to his near drowning. We're running tests, but I think he's faking to get transferred out of the psych hold." Marin texted back. "Let him think it's working. Make it look like you believe him." The next morning, Marin received the news she had been waiting for. Derek had apparently suffered a mild heart attack during the night and was being moved to the cardiac unit for treatment and observation. Sarah's text was clear. "He's faking, but we're playing along. Monitoring equipment shows normal heart function." This was Derek's next move on his chessboard, a second death that would allow him to escape the psychiatric hold and eventually the hospital entirely. Marin needed to stay one step ahead. She called Agent Collins immediately. "Derek is faking a heart attack to get transferred within the hospital. I think he plans to escape." "We are aware," Collins assured her. "We have agents posted at all hospital exits and are monitoring his room." "I have a better idea," Marin said. "Let him think he's succeeded. Let him escape, and see where he goes, or who comes to help him." Collins considered this. A controlled release could yield valuable intel, but it risks our case if he manages to disappear for real. "He won't," Marin said confidently. "He'll come back here, to our house. He needs to maintain his amnesia story and his heart condition to avoid suspicion. Besides, he doesn't know we know about the storage unit or the cabin. He thinks his backup plan is still safe." "You sound very sure, Mrs. Williams. I know my husband, Agent Collins. His ego won't let him run without trying to salvage his reputation first." After some discussion, Collins agreed to Marin's plan. Surveillance would be maintained but subtle, allowing Derek to believe he had successfully evaded detection if he attempted to leave the hospital. What no one told Derek was that Marin had installed additional hidden cameras throughout their house while he was in the hospital. Every room, every possible hiding spot was now under surveillance. If Derek returned, every move he made would be recorded. Chapter 14, The Return, Part 2. That night, Sarah texted Marin. He made his move, disconnected monitors during shift change, walked out of the hospital wearing scrubs he stole from laundry. Agents are following at a distance. Marin steeled herself. If her assessment of Derek was correct, he would return home. Not immediately, but within the next 20 or 24 hours. In the meantime, she received another update from Tess Morgan about the storage unit. New development. Someone accessed the unit today using a key. Female, 60s, gray hair. Took cash from a lockbox and left quickly. I have photos. Marin examined the images Tess sent. It was Linda Williams, Derek's mother, removing what looked like bundles of cash from a safe box in the storage unit. The third conspirator confirmed. Marin texted back. "Send this to Agent Collins immediately." The pieces were falling into place. Linda had likely returned from Arizona to help Derek with his new plan, whatever that was. Stephanie was monitoring the situation from her position at the insurance company, and Derek was now loose, undoubtedly planning his next move. Marin went to bed that night with all security systems active, certain that the final confrontation was approaching. She had gathered the evidence, set the stage, and prepared herself mentally. Now she just needed Derek to play his part. She didn't have to wait long. At 3:17 a.m., the silent alarm on her phone vibrated, alerting her that someone had entered the house using a key. The security cameras showed Derek slipping in through the back door, still wearing the stolen hospital scrubs, moving silently through the kitchen. Marin remained in bed, feigning sleep, watching Derek's movements on her phone. He went straight to his office, retrieved something from the false drawer bottom, the notebook Marin had discovered earlier, and then headed for their bedroom. She quickly set her phone aside and pretended to sleep as Derek entered. He stood over her for a moment, then went to his closet, selecting fresh clothes. After changing, he approached the bed. "Marin," he whispered, shaking her shoulder gently. She stirred, blinking up at him with carefully crafted confusion. "Derek? What? How are you here?" "I had to leave," he said urgently. "The doctor's there. They didn't understand what was happening to me. My heart, Marin. I think the trauma of the accident damaged it." Marin sat up, the picture-perfect worried wife. "Derek, you need medical attention. If your heart—" "No," he interrupted. "I don't trust them. Dr. Martinez, my old college roommate, remember? He's agreed to see me privately." Dr. Martinez. Another name from Derek's timeline notebook. Another conspirator. "You shouldn't have left the hospital," Marin protested. "What if something happens? What if your heart—" "I'll be fine," Derek assured her. "I just need rest and proper care." Marin allowed herself to be persuaded, putting up just enough resistance to seem concerned, but not suspicious. "What can I do?" she asked. "Canvisenda, just keep me here," Derek said. "Believe in me. I know this all looks crazy, but I'm trying to get better, to be the husband you deserve." "I believe in you," she lied. "Whatever you need, I'm here." Derek smiled, kissing her forehead. "Try to get some sleep. We'll figure everything out in the morning." As Derek lay down beside her, Marin remained awake, updating Agent Collins via text about this new development. The agent's reply was immediate. "Keep him there if possible. We are building a case against Martinez now. Need 24 more hours." Chapter 15, the final performance. For the next 2 days, Marin played along with Derek's increasingly elaborate fiction. According to his new story, Dr. Martinez had diagnosed him with a rare form of stress-induced cardiomyopathy caused by his near-drowning experience. He needed rest, minimal stress, and specialized medication that Martinez had prescribed. In reality, Derek spent his days making furtive phone calls when he thought Marin couldn't hear him, sneaking food at night when he was supposedly too weak to eat, and even holding whispered video calls with Stephanie from the bathroom. On the morning of the 3rd day, Derek initiated the next phase of his plan. Marin found him collapsed on the bathroom floor, apparently unconscious. Playing her role to perfection, Marin called 911, reporting that her husband, who had recently returned after being presumed dead in a boating accident, had collapsed and wasn't breathing. Paramedics arrived quickly, but by then, Derek had apparently died. No pulse, no breath. They performed CPR and used a defibrillator, but nothing revived him. With appropriate solemnity, they declared him dead at the scene. Marin sobbed convincingly as they covered Derek's face with a sheet. She called Dr. Martinez, as Derek had instructed her to do in case of emergency. Within an hour, the doctor arrived to sign the death certificate without performing an autopsy, citing Derek's known heart condition as the cause of death. What Derek didn't know was that Marin had swapped the prescription pills he thought he was taking, actually harmless sugar pills, with a potent sedative the night before. Not enough to cause real harm, but enough to make him appear dead upon superficial examination. With Dr. Martinez's cooperation, he barely examined the body before signing the certificate. Derek was officially declared dead. Marin arranged for the body to be taken to Green Meadows Funeral Home, just as Derek had specified in the emergency instructions he had given her. What Derek didn't know was that the funeral home director, Mr. Holloway, was a client of Marin's architecture firm. "Everything is arranged as you requested, Mrs. Williams," Holloway assured her when they met privately. "The special sealed casket, the extended preservation techniques, and of course, the discreet monitoring system." "And no one else knows?" Marin confirmed. "Only my most trusted assistant who will help prepare the body," Holloway assured her. "Your husband will appear deceased to everyone at the funeral. The special breathing apparatus hidden in the casket design will be comfortable, and the sedative you provided will keep him still until the moment of the reveal." Marin nodded, satisfied with the arrangements. "The funeral needs to be in 3 days. Can you manage that?" "Accelerated timeline, but yes, we can accommodate it," Holloway agreed. Open casket wake, as you specified? Absolutely, Marin confirmed. With the funeral arrangements in place, Marin began contacting friends, family, and colleagues. Everyone who had attended Derek's first memorial service, plus a few strategic additions. Agent Collins would be there, along with several undercover officers. Tess Morgan would attend as Marin's cousin. Most importantly, Marin made personal calls to Stephanie Hughes and Linda Williams, informing them of Derek's tragic second death. The doctor said it was his heart, she told Linda. The trauma of the accident, the stress of the amnesia, it was too much for his system. My poor boy, Linda sobbed. First to lose him, then have him back, only to lose him again. It's too cruel. I know, Marin said softly. He spoke of you often in his final days. I'm booking a flight right now, Linda promised. I'll be there tomorrow. Stephanie's reaction was more controlled. This is devastating news, Marin. Just when you had him back. I can't imagine your pain. Thank you, Stephanie, Marin said. The funeral is Thursday at 2 p.m., Green Meadows Funeral Home. I know it would mean a lot to Derek if you could attend. He always spoke so highly of his colleagues at Pacific Northwest. Of course I'll be there, Stephanie assured her. Is there anything I can do to help with arrangements? Actually, yes, Marin said. Derek had mentioned that if anything ever happened to him, he wanted to be buried with a particular item, a silver pocket watch that belonged to his grandfather. I can't find it among his things. He said he might have shown it to you once. Does that ring a bell? The question was a trap, and Stephanie walked right into it. Oh, the silver watch with the engraving inside the lid? Yes, I remember him showing me that. Marin smiled to herself. Derek had never owned a silver pocket watch, and certainly not one from a grandfather who had died before Derek was born. Stephanie had just revealed her intimacy with Derek's possessions. Knowledge an insurance agent would have no reason to possess. After completing the calls, Marin met with Agent Collins to finalize the details of their plan. We have enough evidence to arrest him now, Collins informed her. Dr. Martinez's involvement sealed it. He has agreed to cooperate in exchange for leniency. But you're waiting for the funeral, Marin confirmed. Collins nodded. Your plan offers the chance to catch all three conspirators together, with irrefutable proof of their fraud. Legally sound? Marin pressed. We've consulted with the district attorney. As long as we are simply observing a situation you have created, without entrapping or encouraging illegal activity, the evidence will be admissible. You aren't law enforcement, so different rules apply to your actions. Marin nodded, satisfied. Then we proceed as planned. Chapter 16, The Icy Reveal. The day of the funeral arrived with perfect dramatic timing. Overcast skies, occasional rumbles of thunder in the distance, nature providing the appropriate backdrop for the somber occasion. Marin dressed carefully in a black dress, elegant but understated. Appropriate for a woman who had lost her husband twice in the span of a month. Linda had arrived the day before, staying at a hotel this time, instead of Marin's house, claiming it brought back too many memories. The Green Meadows Funeral Home was transformed for the occasion. Floral arrangements in navy blue and white, Derek's favorite colors, adorned the chapel. The special sealed casket, designed with hidden air vents and monitoring equipment, stood at the front, open for viewing. Marin had specified that the funeral be recorded for family members who couldn't attend, providing perfect cover for multiple cameras placed throughout the chapel to capture the upcoming reveal from every angle. Guests began arriving at 1:30 p.m. Derek's colleagues from the insurance company, neighbors, friends from his college days. Linda sat in the front row, appropriately devastated in an expensive black suit, dabbing her eyes occasionally with a handkerchief. Stephanie arrived looking suitably solemn, though Marin noticed her eyes darting nervously around the room, perhaps scanning for any sign that this was a trap. At 2 sharp, the service began. The funeral director offered a gentle welcome, speaking of the unpredictability of life and the cruel twist of fate that had returned Derek briefly only to take him away again. A college friend gave a short eulogy, speaking of Derek's charm and vitality. A cousin, Tess, performed a moving rendition of Amazing Grace. Throughout it all, Maren sat in the front row, the perfect grieving widow. Her eyes occasionally drifted to the open casket where Derek lay, seemingly lifeless, but actually in a heavily sedated state that would wear off precisely when needed. Finally, it was Maren's turn to speak. She approached the podium, the weight of 2 deaths seemingly heavy on her shoulders. "When Derek disappeared at sea, I thought I had lost him forever," she began. "When he returned, it seemed like a miracle, a second chance at the life we had built together. And now, to lose him again." The audience watched with sympathy, unaware they were about to witness something unprecedented. Derek always said he wanted to be remembered for his transparency, his honesty. He believed in facing the truth head-on, no matter how difficult. Maren stepped away from the podium and walked toward the casket. "Before we say our final goodbye, I want to honor Derek in a way I think he would appreciate. A tradition from his mother's side of the family that he once mentioned to me." Linda shifted uncomfortably in her seat, clearly confused. No such tradition existed. From beneath the podium, Maren pulled out a silver bucket filled with ice water. "Derek always said he wanted to be refreshed one last time before his final rest, a symbolic cleansing of the spirit as he transitions to whatever comes next." Murmurs of confusion rippled through the audience. This wasn't a familiar ritual to anyone present. Linda half rose from her seat, alarm crossing her face. "Maren, I don't remember any such," she started, but Maren was already at the casket. "Goodbye, my love," Maren said clearly, loud enough for everyone to hear. "May this final gesture refresh your journey." And with that, she poured the entire bucket of ice water directly onto Derek's face. The effect was instantaneous and electrifying. Derek bolted upright in the casket, gasping and sputtering, his eyes wide with shock and confusion as freezing water cascaded down his face and chest. "What the hell, Maren?" he shouted, wiping water from his eyes. The audience erupted in chaos. People screamed, jumped to their feet. Some recoiled in terror. Others stood frozen in disbelief. Phones were raised, recording the miraculous resurrection. In the third row, Stephanie stared in horror, her carefully maintained facade crumbling completely. Maren stood perfectly calm beside the casket, holding the empty bucket. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced, "I present to you my husband, Derek Williams, very much alive." Derek looked around wildly, taking in the funeral setting. The shocked faces, the cameras recording everything. Realization dawned in his eyes. He had been caught, exposed in the most public, humiliating way possible. "Maren, what have you done?" he hissed, trying to scramble out of the casket, but feeling weak from the sedatives. "I have simply revealed the truth, Derek," Maren said calmly. Agent Collins stepped forward from where she had been seated at the back of the chapel. "Derek Williams, you are under arrest for insurance fraud, faking your own death, and conspiracy to commit theft." As Collins approached with handcuffs, Derek looked desperately around the room. His eyes found Stephanie, then Linda. "This is a misunderstanding," he protested. "I can explain everything." "I'm sure you can," Maren said, addressing the stunned audience rather than Derek. "Just like you explained your amnesia after your boating accident. Just like you explained your heart condition. You've always been good with explanations, Derek." From her purse, Maren pulled a remote control and pressed a button. The large screen at the front of the chapel, meant to display photos of the deceased during the service, flickered to life. Instead of memorial pictures, it played a series of video clips. Derek sneaking around the house at night while supposedly bedridden. Derek making calls to Stephanie on a hidden phone. Derek and Stephanie together at the remote cabin. Linda removing cash from the storage unit. "You see, while you were playing dead, I was gathering evidence," Maren explained. Evidence of an elaborate fraud involving not just Derek, but his girlfriend Stephanie Hughes of Pacific Northwest Insurance, his mother Linda Williams, and even his college friend Dr. Martinez, who falsified his death certificate. Derek's face contorted with rage and panic. "You bitch! You set me up!" "No, Derek," Marin corrected calmly. "You set yourself up." At that moment, more police officers entered the chapel. One approached Stephanie, who had been edging slowly toward the door. Another went to Linda, who sat frozen in shock. "Stephanie Hughes, Linda Williams," Agent Collins announced. "You are both under arrest as co-conspirators in this fraud." As Miranda rights were read and handcuffs clicked, the audience remained in stunned silence, struggling to process the unprecedented scene unfolding before them. Derek made one desperate attempt to salvage the situation. "She drugged me," he shouted, pointing at Marin. "That's how she did it. She's the criminal here." Marin smiled serenely. "Actually, Derek, I simply gave you the medication prescribed by Dr. Martinez, the very doctor who has provided a full confession regarding your scheme. The sedative that made you appear dead? That was your idea, not mine." As Derek was helped out of the casket and handcuffed, still dripping with ice water, Marin addressed the astonished funeral guests. "I apologize for the unorthodox nature of today's service. As you can see, this was not a funeral, but the culmination of an insurance fraud investigation. Thank you all for your unwitting assistance in bringing these criminals to justice." The chapel erupted into excited chatter as Derek, Stephanie, and Linda were led away by police officers. Phones continued to record, ensuring this extraordinary event would soon be viral content across social media. Interaction question. Wow, that was intense. Do you think Marin went too far with the public humiliation? Or was it exactly what Derek deserved? Share your thoughts. Chapter 17, The Aftermath. The newspaper headline said it all. Architect outsmarts husband's death hoax with ice water and hidden cameras. It had been 6 months since the dramatic funeral reveal that had made national headlines and turned Marin Williams into a folk hero of sorts. The video of Derek sitting up in his casket after being doused with ice water had gone viral, spawning countless memes, late-night comedy sketches, and even a Saturday Night Live parody. But for Marin, the outcome had been about rebuilding, not reveling in her husband's public humiliation. She sat in her newly renovated home office, reviewing the final court documents that had arrived that morning. Derek had been sentenced to 15 years for insurance fraud, faking his own death, theft, and conspiracy. His mother, Linda, received 5 years for her role in the scheme. Stephanie Hughes got 7 years, with the possibility of parole after 3. Dr. Martinez lost his medical license and received a suspended sentence in exchange for his testimony. The investigation had uncovered even more than Marin had known. Derek's gambling problem was real, but it had been only part of the story. He and Stephanie had been involved for nearly 3 years. They had been planning their escape using the insurance money and Marin's stolen savings for over a year. Linda's role had also been more significant than expected. She had acted as the financial mastermind, setting up offshore accounts and managing the transfer of funds. The Belize property brochure Marin had found wasn't just aspirational. Linda had already put a deposit on the beachfront home, where the 3 of them planned to live after faking Derek's death. Most shocking was the discovery that this wasn't Derek's first fraud attempt. Agent Collins had uncovered evidence of 2 previous insurance scams involving fake injuries at retail stores, resulting in substantial settlements. Derek Williams had been a grifter for years. Marin had simply never seen that side of him until he turned it on her. A knock on her office door interrupted her thoughts. Tess Morgan was there. Now, not just Marin's private investigator, but her friend. "Ready for lunch?" Tess asked. "Collins is already waiting at the restaurant." "Absolutely. Let me grab my bag. They drove to a chic bistro in the revitalized downtown district, a building Marin's firm had designed 3 years earlier. "The woman of the hour!" Diane Collins called out as Marin sat down. "Have you seen the news about Pacific Northwest Insurance?" Marin asked. "Yes, I got the official letter this morning. $1 million, plus keeping your recovered savings." Tess mused, studying the menu. "Not bad for 6 months of work." "It was never about the money," Marin reminded them. "Of course not," Diane agreed. "But it doesn't hurt, especially considering what you're doing with it." What Marin was doing with the settlement money, along with her recovered savings, was creating the Second Chances Foundation, a nonprofit dedicated to helping victims of fraud rebuild their lives. The foundation provided financial counseling, legal assistance, and emotional support to individuals who had been betrayed by those they trusted. "The foundation officially opens next week," Marin confirmed. "We've already received over 50 applications for assistance." "It's remarkable," Diane said. "Most people in your position would have just taken the money and walked away. Started over somewhere else." Marin shook her head. "Running away doesn't solve anything." Their conversation was interrupted by a woman approaching their table hesitantly. "Excuse me," she said. "Are you Marin Williams?" Marin nodded, offering a friendly smile. "Yes, I am. I'm sorry to bother you during your lunch, but I just wanted to say thank you," the woman continued. "My husband emptied our accounts and disappeared last year. After seeing your story on the news, I contacted the police with my suspicions, instead of just accepting he was gone. They found him living under a fake name 2 states away. Your courage gave me the strength to look for the truth." Marin was touched. "I'm so glad you found answers. And justice, I hope." "He's facing charges now," the woman confirmed, "and I'm rebuilding my life." After the woman left, Tess raised her glass. "To unexpected ripple effects. You didn't just catch your own con artist. You're helping others catch theirs." "I'll drink to that," Diane agreed, raising her glass as well. Marin joined the toast, reflecting on how differently things had turned out than she had imagined 6 months ago. When she first discovered Derek's betrayal, she had focused solely on exposing his fraud. She hadn't anticipated becoming an advocate for other fraud victims or finding a new purpose in helping others navigate similar betrayals. After lunch, Marin returned to her office to finalize preparations for the foundation opening. Marin's phone rang. The caller ID showed Blake Carson, her lawyer. "Marin, good news," Blake said when she answered. "The insurance company has wired the settlement funds. They're in the foundation account." "Perfect timing," Marin replied. "We open next week." "There's more," Blake continued. "I received a letter from Derek's lawyer today. He wants to schedule a meeting with you." Marin frowned. "What for?" "Apparently Derek wants to apologize in person. Says he's been doing a lot of thinking in prison." Marin considered this. 6 months ago, she might have dismissed it as yet another manipulation. Now, she wasn't so sure. "Tell him I'll consider it," she said finally. "But not right away. I have a foundation to launch." "I will," Blake agreed. "And Marin, for what it's worth, I'm proud of how you've handled all this. Not many people would turn such a personal betrayal into something that helps others." After hanging up, Marin walked to the large window overlooking the city. The skyline featured several buildings she had designed over the years, tangible proof of her creative vision and professional success. But the foundation represented something different, something deeper. It was about transformation, about taking the worst experience of her life and reshaping it into something that could help others heal. The chime sounded, indicating someone had entered the foundation's main office. Marin turned to find Diane Collins standing in the doorway, holding a gift-wrapped package. "Sorry to drop by unannounced," Diane said, "but I wanted to give you this before your official opening." Marin accepted the package, unwrapping it carefully. Inside was a beautiful silver bucket, smaller and more elegant than the one she had used at the funeral, but unmistakably similar. "I thought it might be a sort of mascot for the foundation," Diane explained with a grin. Marin laughed, turning the bucket in her hands. "It's perfect. I'll display it prominently." "Is there anything else?" Diane asked, her expression turning more serious. "I've been offered a position in the FBI's Financial Crimes Division." "That's wonderful," Marin exclaimed. "Though I'll miss working with you locally." "That's the thing," Diane continued. "I recommended they establish a satellite office here, focused specifically on relationship-based fraud. Cases like yours, where personal betrayal and financial crimes intersect. They've approved it, and I'll be heading the office." "So you're staying," Marin said. "Yes, and I was hoping the Second Chances Foundation would consider a formal partnership with our new office." Marin smiled, touched by the recognition of how her personal experience could continue to help others in unexpected ways. It would be an honor. Later that evening, as Marin stood in the finished foundation space, resource materials on shelves, comfortable consultation rooms ready for clients, the silver bucket displayed prominently in a glass case in the lobby, she felt a sense of wholeness she had been missing for months. The foundation's motto, etched on a plaque next to the bucket, read, "The truth, like water, finds its way through any barrier." Her phone buzzed with the text from Tess. "Just saw the news. Derek's appeal was denied. All sentences upheld." Marin replied with a simple thumbs-up emoji. Derek had thought he could bury her with his lies. Instead, she had buried him with the truth, and in doing so, had unearthed the best version of herself. This story of Marin's incredible resilience and clever revenge shows that sometimes the best way to deal with a betrayal is to outsmart the betrayer. What part of Marin's plan did you think was the most brilliant? The hidden cameras, faking the ambulance call, or the ice bucket reveal? We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this thriller about justice served cold, please like this video and subscribe to our channel for more amazing stories like this one. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a new upload. Thanks for watching.